Name of the Most High, at all points in between, at all spaces and non-spaces and all possible configurations. Welcome. Well, we've had, quite a, I would say quite a prophetic week. I'm sharing a little bit about something that happened to me now. Greetings. Name of the Most High, at all points in between, at all spaces and non-spaces and all possible configurations. Welcome. Well, we've had, quite a, I would say quite a prophetic week. I'm sharing a little bit about something that happened to me now. But I didn't feel the need to, a little housekeeping on the internet prophets. A lot of people said that they were predicting, or maybe not a lot, but some that I had heard. I'm not going to go into names, but predicting the Biden thing, and then they said, oh, he's going to be restored, and he's out. He's they kind of stumbled at what happened. And so here's the rule. Basically, if you receive something from the Lord, you don't change it to suit, like when they were saying that, reporting he's staying in, and I had done I had a vision of this whole debate, and not just the debate, but the whole thing, the whole battle. And and I said he's dead. He is dead. And then you saw a profound change. And then, they wanted to throw him back in there. And as you can see, he deteriorated so much that it couldn't be. So I believe that that's confirmation. But I've seen people say they had confirmation too, that he's done and they're removing him and all that. But they hesitated when there was news items about him going back into running for president. Let me take these off. The sun's coming up right here, so I'm. Hello. Anyway, so I, that's just it's just too bad if you say if you feel like the Lord has moved you to say something, if you feel there's a prophetic, signature on it, then what you've got to do is you stay with what the Lord gave you. There's a lot of people that keep changing whenever something looks like it's changing, but you see, we didn't have a need to do that, and now you can see that it's gone back and forth and back and forth. And even if I'll give everybody this benefit of the doubt, even if they run him again, he's a dead man running. It's over. Understand? I'm looking at the big picture here. And since I said that, and then through the debate, we saw the aftermath, you saw that it was true. He literally changed, 180 degrees. I mean, he basically like going from life to death. But for all intents and purposes, he's a dead man. They may keep him breathing, but he's not, it's no longer about cognitive. It's about, is he amongst the living or not? The answer is no. Some people are just dead before their time, and they're just waiting to maybe physically die. But in terms of destiny and all those things that were happening and all the plans they had and all the plans within plans and plans on how to control everyone, a new COVID they want. I personally don't understand how people could vote for, any Democrat anywhere, since the party's run by George Soros and nihilists that want to basically depopulate the earth. You're just voting for your own death. I mean, I don't understand people that are so programmed that they smile in your face. They say they're depopulating you. Bill Gates, big time Democrat, tells you that he's going to kill you, and then you vote for him anyway. What does that make you? Who are you? What are you? What? Define yourself. What are you? Well, it's better than Hitler. Hitler, if you have a flag, a United States flag these days, you're Hitler. If you're white, you're Hitler. If you want prayer back in school, you're Hitler. If you want a liberal arts education taught to your children, you're Hitler. If you want labor laws to be equal across the board, you're Hitler. If you want equanimity among people, you're Hitler. If you want any kind of peace, well, you're racist. So they, anybody with any sense at all, anyone with any personhood. Am I right in saying there's a lot of people walking around posing as persons who are not really people because they vote for their own death? And if you do vote for your own death, aren't you, because not that the vote counts, not that the US is any great place compared to whatever. Humans are bad wherever you go. But the idea of not killing hundreds of thousands of people in a World War III, I would agree. I don't want to kill all this. I would like to stop war. I'd like to have an economy that would work for people so they could have a chance, have a chance or be able to, pay their bills. I would, I would basically want, to have border security, and that I wouldn't want people who couldn't defend themselves, who are here, I guess, the population here, to be overrun and have their jobs taken. And I wouldn't want to have a country where veterans of the military are lying around on the street without food to eat, without shelter, and to have people that don't even know what the U.S. is bust in here to receive big screen TVs and plush apartments in major cities, and immediately employed by NGOs and in jobs that will ultimately be to hurt Americans, because America is no longer part of the globalist plan. They plan to get rid of it. So because of that, I would probably tend to go for candidates who are more pro living, who would be, would be living, meaning that your constituents wouldn't just be lined up and shot for no reason because of the color of their skin or or their politics or their sense of humor or what they post on social media or any of the other, totalitarian Gestapo tactics. But again, who are these people that vote for things like that? What's going on here? If they're brain dead, then they shouldn't vote. That's all I'm going to say on that. Now, moving on. And it doesn't matter to me whether it's Democrat or Republican, what the label is. I'm not going to join either party. I think they're both corrupt. And they both do the same things. They're actually the same. It's a uniparty. So I want to say that. So it's really what I'm talking about is voting for people that are against war, pro peace, pro civilization, I suppose, pro humanity versus anti-humanity. That's where, and I don't care whether Republican, Democrat, socialist, whatever they want to label themselves. All these politicians, they hail from the same place. And it seems like, can't we just get together with brothers and sisters as humans and survive the politicians? Could we do that? No, because television tells us no. Okay, enough. Stop. Stop. Okay. So here's a weird prophetic thing. In my personal testimony, we'll air it hair out of the place. Kind of a bad hair day, wearing my Maui hat in honor of the people that had the land stolen from them and arsoned and blown up by elites that want to turn Lahaina into a some sort of new age center for their gods. And I think it's disgusting, but geez, everywhere you go, it seems that they're just bad people doing bad things. And when they get rich, they use their money to hurt other people. It's terrible. Terrible. I'm not a communist, socialist, totalitarian, so I'm not about taking their billions away. But that much money does corrupt people. Okay, so we entered a film festival in Albuquerque for my film that I had abandoned because things went bad. You remember my testimony from LA, and I had to escape, and I wrote a book, Lamb. I wrote Glass Backwards. We got out of there. We were being targeted, let's just put it that way. And everything was dashed. My hopes to even find a distributor for Angel's Tide, or get another score for it, finish it the way I thought it should be finished. And it was a modest, very modest budget indie film debut for me, and who was a professional screenwriter. Make that transition from writer to writer director. And I chose a topic that was just intimate and close, and something that we all have to deal with, which is death, and it did several drafts on the script, and did a lot of the due diligence, and a lot of good things happened during the production, including getting the producer being able to secure a camera and lighting and great discounts here and there. We wouldn't have been able to afford it otherwise, and just doing a great job in that way. And I'm sorry we all ended up fighting and bickering, and it turned into a little bit of a fiasco. But that really wasn't my problem, because I got the show done, and I had to fight for my own film. But I mean, I got everything I wanted. I implemented my plan, and my plan worked. I got the shots, I got the performances, I got what I needed. I told the story. Then I had to abandon it because I was going through a divorce, and I didn't have time. I mean, actually I wasn't. I was done with the divorce. What happened? It was 1994. Well, I guess I was still going through a divorce, and then I married Patricia, but I was working with Patricia in Angel's Tide, and I chose her to be my lead because I just felt she was, I wrote it for her. Basically, I wrote it, pretty much the casting was great. And I felt that everybody really, now it's proven that Trisha's was the best one for the job. But it was after that in post where I just couldn't seem to get it done. I don't know what happened, and it just went on the back burner, and then it was never completed. I mean, I think we had we placed it we had a sale to somebody, and they were going to dub it in Latin. It was in Spanish, but that was it. I had pretty much abandoned all hopes, and then when my daughter died, I got going again with films, kind of like picked up where I left off. But here I am now, 30 years down the road, and filled with sorrow and grief. And that all kind of led to eventually huge hospitalization, and I was existing at a near-death state for many months. And but we kept going with our company, with our film. We had 3 films done, and several, in development. And then Larry started talking about this Angel Tide, that he had seen a dub of it, and was really emotionally taken with it, and he had a prophetic word on it. He just said, this will and he's a godly man, so he's a prayer warrior, and he had a notion that we would be able to complete it, it would do well, and I didn't quite believe him at the time, and then of course I kind of said yes, and I had a print of it is all I had, and a transfer off the print to from 35 millimeter to 4K, and it needed a lot of work, the print, because it was a show print, not a work print, but a show print. And so as I got out of the hospital, I started. We were working on it. I said yes, and I. So when I got out of the hospital, it was almost as if it was waiting for me, to get busy and to finish it. And it came together very quickly. Before I knew it, I had Colin McGuinness creating a new score for us. He's won 2 awards for his score now in 2 different festivals. I just thought it was brilliant. I didn't have to even tweak it that much. I didn't have to sit there and work with him that hard because he kind of had another score to go by that was there that I was inappropriate for the movie, and just didn't work. And then of course there's another sound job we had to do, and that's very intensive and takes but we had our team together to do that, and then the picture had to be using AI tools and other tools to restore frame by frame the original 35 millimeter print, which now we can do thanks to technology. So it all came together, and I think it's won something like, and this is completely mind blowing because I didn't think it would win anything or that anyone would want it in a festival. So I never really even tried to enter it, except we had that festivals are a good. There's like 3 or 4 or 5 big ones in the world, right? And then there's lots and lots of regional festivals, city festivals, state festivals, all kinds of interesting, festivals of, communities wanting to enrich their culture by celebrating cinema rather than just, letting it go to, all digital streaming, etc. And so we had won. We had, say about 15 films selected. We got Angel Tide was then selected, more than rejected. And before we knew it, we had gotten something like, a bunch of awards. And this is completely mind blowing to me because it was like I was in the hospital facing death and this job was unfinished. And then it's like God let me be alive so that I could come back and finish it, or just, I'm not even sure why that happened. I just know that I was really, really sick, and it was terrible because I really thought I was going to die. You know what I mean? I just was really, I didn't want to die. I just, and I wanted to go home and see, Trish and Ben's and be in my happy place, which I am now. You hear the fountain in the background, and it's not a fountain; it's like a little waterfall. And I'm surrounded by desert rocks, like some of these and these here. So, life is good in that sense. I wish I was better, but anyway, we finished it. It just started on the festival circuit, and Larry said, this is going to be a festival darling. I really didn't believe him. You know that, Trish. I didn't believe him at all.
Hey, well, you just won in Albuquerque.
Well, that's why I'm saying the testimony now on this tape, because basically so we entered into our hometown. Santa Fe's kind of, they snubbed Girl Next. They snubbed the Dark Side of Society. They're very, very, I don't want to be overtly critical because a lot of people who are woke now will not be woke next year. Okay.
Hopefully.
Well, no, I don't think so. But this is, I don't want to impugn a motive on them, to them, whatever. I just want to say that but we also have Albuquerque. So we're almost equidistant. I mean, Albuquerque is just down the road this way, right behind me, just south. And Santa Fe is that way, east and kind of north and east. So we don't live in either one. Anyway, so we entered Albuquerque. It's called the Mindfield Film Festival, and they see, and they're usually we go by, are their films IMDb qualified? That means, is it a gold festival, meaning it's approved of by IMDb, and that awards that you get there would be placed on your IMDb site so that people would see that you won an award for this or that or the other thing. So you could see the history of the film, really. So last night, that's it. They gave the film Best Picture, Best Director, Best Screenplay, Best Actress, and Best Score. And it may be a little festival, but it's home. It's like we've always said, well, they don't treat us well here at home. They treat us great in Italy or UK or something, or La France. So anyway, and after that, I thought I had to say something because I just want to say God is good in the sense of bringing this whole thing full circle and then creating a healing that having my daughter dying and then going back to film in the first place, people say, well, why are you doing that? Well, I'm doing it because of what just happened. Because I was a broken guy coming out of LA. I mean, everything, all my hopes were dashed. All my friends turned into enemies. Everybody was trying to target us and no one would tell us why. It was like being in the movie The Game with no way out. I mean, for real this time. And, you've heard my testimony. So, a lot of you are targeted individuals too. And you understand when they turn the guns on you, you know what I mean? They turn the focus on you. Right? Remember Enemy of the State with Will Smith? It was like that, So they were trying to ruin my life and have me commit suicide and all the usual stuff. And to be sitting here today with those wins are being acknowledged. And I know that, that was a very low budget indie production. But we had, like I said, we had Panavision camera. We had prime lenses. I think they were Sony prime lenses, which are excellent. We had Kodak film. We had a lighting package. And we had everything that you needed, but we had to we had to get free packages because it was going to be my first film. And, resources were very limited. And yet it all worked out. And then, I could see like God's hand in it, that it wasn't supposed to work out for 30 years. And then 30 years later, here it is working out. The only thing that I can't do is, and I'm not going to do is, I mean, if people want to contact me that have had a part in it, that's fine. But many have passed on, because of old age 30 years ago. And I wish they were, here, like some of the actors, like Larry Linville and Larry Gelman and others. I wish they were here to see this. No, it's not the Cannes Film Festival. It's not Toronto. It's not Berlin. It's not those that are, in the big leagues with the studios. It's a little indie festival, but Albuquerque is a pretty artistic town. And I just feel really, blessed that in my backyard here, something that positive happened. It makes me feel like I know why I survived the hospital and the infections. I know why it had to be put down 30 years ago and then picked up again. I had to use Job a lot as an example, because this kind of went beyond Job. I don't know that Job went 30 years before he had restoration, but 30 years ago, that film was not, you know what I mean? It grew into acceptance. People weren't ready for it then, and now they are. So I see God's timing in this whole thing. It's just amazing. It's amazing. It's so far beyond my intellect, my ability to understand, that I can't.
Pretty cool. Thank you, Lord.
It's
Say healing.
not of this world. So when people ask about it, or people think that's really something, don't put a lot of credit on me. It was Larry Wade Carroll that started the ball rolling. It was other people like the picture people in Barcelona. It was, and they were all excited to work on it. And it was the sound guy, Scott Szabo, and he wanted to work on it. And then Colin wanted to work on it. Everyone had a good experience as we did a whole new post production and a picture restoration. And I must say 35 millimeter is beautiful. Even as, there is something about it that goes way beyond, 8K cinema, let's say. But just want to tell you that the odds on all this happening are about 0. And the odds on coming back with that, and the odds on my surviving were about 0. And the odds on getting the film done were 0. And the odds on, the team coming together, our Crazed House team, which is a great team. But the odds on having them all be available for that time period, 0. Just think about that, Trish.
It's amazing.
And then Trish got recognized for, Trish, as an actress, people are like, oh, nepotism, you're putting your wife in the picture. She's probably making you do that, And I hated comments like that, but people are going to, you know what I mean? They're just going to do that. But here's the thing about Trish. She had come to LA, got into the Academy of, what was it?
American
The
Academy of Dramatic Arts West.
The American Academy of Dramatic Arts West. Got a job as a waitress and put herself through school, and immediately got invited into a really prestigious actor workshop, and at the same time was going with auditions and things. And she also had a physical setback where she couldn't walk at one time, kind of like me in a sense. But the point is it paid her due. She was super qualified, and she was more prepared than anybody that I'd seen. We wouldn't do dilettantism or nepotism. It's just I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't cast somebody in it that I've cast her twice, not because we're married, but because she does the best job. And not only that, but is totally prepared in very complex situations where a lot of the actors need help and they're stumbling, and she's not. She's just good. She's just with it. But she does her own thing. And, she also had to wait some 30 years because we weren't exactly going out on auditions. They offered me a couple of directing gigs in LA before leaving, and I couldn't do it. I was just too broken. I needed help. I needed Jesus, it's that simple. Nobody there gave a fucking shit about me except the Lord. I'll tell you that. Whatever the propaganda is, whether they try to tell you Jesus is evil or racist or whatever, they don't even know what they're talking about, because Jesus is as much a non-gender noun as he is the person of God that came into this world to experience the suffering of man and then pave the path of redemption through the shed blood and the cross, which I don't think anyone else ever really did. So I know that there were plenty of conspiracy websites that were anti-Christ, that were trying to say that Jesus is just, it's just an offshoot of Egyptian religion, and then some saying that we had the same stories in Buddhism, virgin birth, and they would focus on all that stuff. But that's not really Jesus' identity. Jesus has a cosmic or celestial identity, which has to do with the totality of creation and the creator, and creating and sustaining and destroying. It's non-personable. It's not like a person. Oh, hi, Jesus. It's not based on that. But I can't think of any other reason why I'm here. Should have been dead. Should have been dead over and over again, but should have been dead, especially this last round. I am sick. That's true. And I am dying. That's true. And it's real critical right now. You know, you could lose me very easily. That's true. You know, if you look, but I'm still. But see, we can't. I don't look at it all or nothing. Like, okay, I'm not completely healed on my kidneys or my lungs or my, my heart. Okay, so fine. I'm not completely healed on those things. I had a little falling out with the AMA, and but good enough to be talking to you and good enough to be, functioning on some level at this point. And of course, I'm hoping for a complete healing and all that, but I'm not gonna. It's a process, and a lot of it is that too. And the healing is being led because on the on online you see a million people offering cures and this and that. You have all the alternative, but then of course what the hospitals are going to do. They're going to basically put you on, beta blockers, blood thinners, and tell you to have a nice day and ring me up. I'll see you in 45 days or whatever. And that's not going to work in this case. If I followed their advice, I would already be dead. So I'm aware that, my life was stretched. I believe it was stretched in a way so I could finish this film, even though the film is just a little, it certainly isn't the best film in the world. It's just a little indie effort. It was my stepping out and taking responsibility for the production and the shots and the angles and the makeup and the hair and the sets and the film and the film stock and the camera and the lenses and blah, 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 blah. And, so I kept it simple. I just wanted to tell a simple story about a woman dying that didn't want to go. Well, guess what? She didn't want to go the AMA route. And, the other thing about it is we had a SAG low budget agreement, but we couldn't afford some of these, great actresses and, that have been, household names on your screens and your televisions. No, this was this. I had no idea where this would go. We just hoped for the best. It was just an inspiration. I stepped out in faith, and 30 years later, I was restored. And now, like Job, we already have a distribution deal in place, and nobody ever even sold it. It never went to any market. It was just like picked up. So after the festival run, we've got that. It's also a good companion if any of you are listening or producers or even better distributors. It goes kind of hand in hand with, there's a personal story about me, and it's in the Dark Side of Society, which also has been sold to a distributor, and that will be coming out this next year. And I'll have to brace myself for that one. But there's a story there about Dark Side of Society and the conditions about writing that, and then being broken, and my story about having been put in a coma and suicided and all these things, and then making the comeback to do my own film, and then 30 years later, here comes a film that was done right after Society, after that experience. So it has a human story that goes with it about, I guess the human story is about just refusing to die and keeping on anyway, despite the odds. It would have been just giving up is what I did. And then I realized my mistake. And I said, wait a second. I jumped back on the horse. As soon as I really felt better psychologically and less hurt emotionally, and getting a little healing on the PTSD and the rest of it that happened from being targeted and just, well, those of you who know what I'm talking about understand the depths, the serious nature of the deaths involved in all that. And even in when I went online in 2002, I learned that there were all these stalkers online that called themselves Christians that wanted to handle us, that wanted to, that somehow were connected to what happened earlier 10 years ago. And it just was, again, I couldn't figure it out. It's beyond my comprehension. So, similar experience that you've had. Those of you who have told me your experiences, those of you who've tried to be activists about targeting and targeted individuals, understand what happened. I wasn't looking for any fight, but I know where the fight came from. It came from society itself. This because I had seen too much or whatever, and blabbed a little too much, as it were. And even going back to the Film Society, there was grievance over that. By the way, and then Society is playing next Saturday, the 13th, midnight show at the New Beverly Theater in LA. That's Quentin Tarantino's theater. He's curated Society to be in his lineup of 35 millimeter films. So to me, that's an incredible honor. And, he gets it. He understands what happened there. And, the whole thing is a critique on society. I mean, that's what it is. It's just like They Live for John Carpenter was a critique on our society. I mean, that's, what I mean, done in a, sci-fi horror way. But I mean, basically, you're just laying out that there's especially a supernatural element to the degradation or to the oppression that man is under, this horrible weight of unfairness and murder and perversion and just outright insanity, so that a man cannot live a decent life. I don't think anybody can. I think we all have testimonies of just sheer horror because we're just not allowed to, walk down the street to go to school. We can't just go to a job, check in, do our work, and go home. That's just asking way, way too much. So a lot more of this kind of work has to be done. And that's what filmmakers are for. They do work like that, whether it be Blade Runner to show what happens in the future to our society, or any of these it's the job of the arts to stick those problems in your face, to say, look, why is this, and they try to make it, now though, there's the invisible oligarchs, right, that you don't see, and they're not Republican or Democrat. Okay, thank you. And they plan all this, and they use the parties and the DAs, and they buy everybody off. And if you're not bought off, then they won't trust you with anything, or they won't let you make the millions of dollars that a lot of successful people make from selling their souls. And so it's a spiritual battle ultimately. But they don't tell you this in school. They don't prepare you for this, so that if you're like a pure heart, you see things black or white. This is right, that's wrong. Especially my brother Rick, he was such a pure heart, so a beautiful soul. And so they killed him, just like that. And why did they kill him? Because, and who had a hand in it? Even my own family had a hand in it. And it's a very hellish place. And usually when people stand up, they're told to sit down. When someone says something's got to be done about this, they're told to shut up or die. And the world shouldn't be that way. It's very hostile to indie filmmakers. So I just want to let you know that from my story, I encourage all of you to keep going with your projects. There's no project too little. I mean, if all you have is an iPhone, then I think you should be able to negotiate with somebody to get a better package than that. You need to make it serious. You got to put some skin in the game. You might have to put your savings into it. You might have to, borrow money. Don't borrow it from the mafia, though. you know, to be able to do it. It might take some gumption. People aren't going to just show up for pizza, you know, and give you a brilliant performance. I mean, you know, you've got to be incentives there. But for those people willing to take that on, it's a war, and willing to take that battle on, kudos. You're not getting any help from Amazon, which is MGM now. You're getting no help from Netflix. You're getting no help from all these people around the world that are in the arts, you know, trying to promote the arts. No, they're promoting their own. You have to be a courageous hero. And what they try to do with a lot of indie filmmakers is they bundle like a bunch of DVDs, like a stack like that. These are the films we've acquired for 2021. Here, let's put a rubber band around them and give it to you know, XYZ distributors in Europe and Asia and Latin America. Here you go, and Canada. Here you go. And then the filmmaker gets nothing. They don't recoup their money. It's a loss, lose. There's no support there. And then they watch their film streamed as like, you know, kind of at the bottom of the barrel. You really have to look for it. And then they get to see it streamed. It might be a very, very good film. A lot of things are changing in that regard, though. Now, I would encourage. I don't think you need to go to USC to get to spend, you know, $300,000 on an education to be able to work in film. It's, you know, I was talking to Larry about acting and actors, and he agrees with me. I agree with him. It's basically you either have it or you don't. You can see that right away with people. It's okay, and there's no crime in not having it, but it's not something you can just, you know, you can't just do anything in life. And so what I tried to do was my own calling, which was ripped away from me. And anyway, it really feels weird sitting here having survived that last year and then having these awards where I felt like it, you know, Larry was right, I was wrong. I didn't feel that anybody would accept it in any festival for any reason, or let alone a distributor. But that's a, you know, a hurt within myself that I think I'm getting over, thanks to the Lord. Okay, I'll see you next time. And God bless everybody. And even those of you who hate God, God bless you and wake you up and turn you toward reality, you know, as opposed to reality may be kind of painful, but it's better than, you know, it's better than living in delusion and in the realm of the backstabbers, let's say, put it that way. See you next time.